Time doesn't wait. It devours those who hesitate to act, those who cling to false illusions of safety. With every moment of delay, you drift further from the person you could become. Only in the moment of decisiveness will you find your path, and only through the struggle against yourself will true freedom emerge. This video is based on Nietzsche's philosophy and will be valuable to those who seek to understand the power of will, search for meaning beyond the ordinary, and are ready to face the harsh reality of life. Well then, let's begin. You believe you have a choice, that you are free, that your life belongs to you. But this is the greatest deception ever woven around your mind. You do not choose, you hesitate. You do not act, you dream. And while you stand there, lost in the labyrinth of your own indecision, others have already claimed what you once thought was yours. Every moment you delay, a chain tightens around your neck. Not made of iron nor of steel, but of something far more insidious, passivity. It does not rattle. It does not weigh you down. You do not even feel it. And yet, with every opportunity ignored, every risk avoided, every passion suffocated by the comfort of routine, the chain coils tighter, until one day you find yourself kneeling, not knowing when you first bent the knee. Freedom is not a birthright. It is not granted. It is taken. And those who refuse to reach for it are not free men. They are slaves who have been trained to call their servitude by another name. They obey not because they must, but because they have been conditioned to fear the alternative. The possibility of failure terrifies them. The burden of responsibility crushes them. And so they wait. They wait for a sign, for permission, for the right moment, as if time itself will ever bend in favor of the hesitant. But time is ruthless. It rewards those who seize it and devours those who hesitate. You can pretend that standing still is harmless, that inaction is neutral. But there is no neutrality in a world driven by power and will. If you do not shape your destiny, someone else will do it for you. If you do not command your life, you will be commanded. If you do not act, you will be acted upon. The illusion of choice is a prison, and you are its most obedient prisoner. And the most tragic part? The door has always been open. You have simply been too afraid to step through it. The will of the few, who decides your fate while you hesitate. Every second you spend hesitating, someone else is deciding for you. Someone bolder, hungrier, less burdened by doubt. While you weigh your options, they have already taken action. While you seek permission, they have already conquered. You tell yourself that you are thinking, planning, preparing, but in truth, you are merely surrendering, delaying the inevitable moment when your inaction becomes another man's opportunity. There are no empty spaces in this world. No unclaimed thrones. Every hesitation is a throne abandoned, and power, like nature, abhors a vacuum. When you do not seize control, another hand, stronger, swifter, will grasp it without hesitation. And they will use it, not to serve you, but to mold you into whatever shape best suits their will. You do not choose whether to play this game. You are already in it. The only choice is whether you are the one making the rules or the one following them. And those who wait, those who fear, those who convince themselves that their time has not yet come, these are the ones who wake up one day to find that their lives have already been written by someone else. The terms of their labor, the limits of their ambition, the boundaries of their existence, all dictated by those who were willing to act while they hesitated. The world is not ruled by the most deserving, the most moral, or the most intelligent. It is ruled by those who do not wait. Those who impose their vision upon reality instead of allowing reality to impose itself upon them. The bold do not seek fairness, nor do they ask whether they are ready. They move, they take, they shape the world in their image. And what of you? What becomes of those who fear to step forward? They do not vanish. They become workers, soldiers, servants. They live within structures they did not build, abide by rules they did not write, and spend their lives fulfilling the visions of men who refuse to wait. You may tell yourself you are free, that you have time, that you are simply being careful. But the truth is far simpler, far colder. While you hesitate, someone else is living the life that could have been yours. Every day, a victory or a surrender. There is no pause, no neutral ground, no safe middle where you can rest and tell yourself that nothing is lost. Each day is a battlefield, and whether you realize it or not, you are fighting. You are either moving forward or being pushed back. You are either conquering or retreating. There is no stillness, only the illusion of it, a comforting lie whispered to those too weak to accept the weight of reality. You tell yourself that you are waiting, that tomorrow will bring clarity, that hesitation is wisdom. But time does not wait, and neither do those who understand its value. While you hesitate, your edge dulls, your fire fades, and the walls around you close in. The mind that once burned with ambition begins to rust in the damp fog of inaction. The muscles that once strained toward greatness grow weak, unused. The spirit that once longed for conquest becomes a prisoner of comfort. And you do not even notice it happening. This is how men are broken, not in a single shattering moment, but through slow erosion. Not by open defeat, but by silent surrender. You do not fall, you sink inch by inch, day by day, until the person you once were is unrecognizable, buried beneath layers of caution, hesitation, and wasted time. Greatness is not taken in a single act, nor is weakness. It is chosen, consciously or not, in the thousands of decisions you make each day. The decision to rise or to sleep in, to act or to excuse, to sharpen your will or to dull it with distractions. These are not small moments. They are battles, and they determine whether you rule your life or submit to it. You think you can avoid the fight, but you cannot. The war is already upon you, and if you are not winning, you are losing. Risk or worthlessness, the choice that defines you. There is a moment in every life, a moment that defines the shape of your existence. Not a grand, cinematic event, not a duel at dawn or a battle for a throne, no. It happens in silence, in the depths of your own mind, unnoticed by the world. It is the moment you decide, though you may not yet realize it, whether you will live as a force of nature or fade into the dust of the forgotten. And the choice is always the same, risk or worthlessness. You stand before an abyss, staring into the unknown. Your heart pounds with the weight of possibility, of danger, of failure. Every fiber of your being tells you to step back, to seek safety, to remain within the boundaries drawn for you by a world that does not wish you to be great. Because greatness is dangerous. It threatens the established order. It terrifies those who have chosen comfort over conquest. And so, you hesitate. You rationalize. You convince yourself that another time will come, that the risk is too great, that those who dared before you are different, built from something stronger. And in that hesitation, you make your choice. To refuse risk is to choose a different abyss, one of slow decay. It does not announce itself with fire and fury. It does not shake the earth or send lightning through your veins. It is patient, subtle, like a poison slipped into your drink day after day, so slowly that you do not notice the weight settling in your limbs, the dulling of your thoughts, the quiet death of your ambitions. It whispers to you soothingly, telling you that you are fine, that nothing is wrong, that there is no need to act. But each day that passes, you shrink. Each opportunity ignored, each challenge avoided, each battle fled. These are small funerals, silent burials of the person you were meant to be. There is no middle path. No safe compromise where you can remain untouched by both fire and decay. The world does not allow it. You will either seize life with both hands, risk its pain, its loss, its crushing weight, or you will rot from the inside, consumed by a mediocrity so absolute that you will not even realize when you cease to exist. And here is the great irony: risk is terrifying, yes. But nothing is more terrifying than the realization, far too late, that you have wasted your one existence on this earth. That you have let your fears dictate your fate. That you have become something less than you were meant to be. The time will come, perhaps sooner than you think, when you will look in the mirror and ask yourself, did I live? Did I dare? Did I create, conquer, burn with life? Or did I simply exist, drifting from one empty day to the next, too afraid to ever truly begin? And if that moment comes, and you do not like the answer, know this: the world will not mourn you. It will not remember your name. It will move forward indifferent, as it always has, and you will be nothing more than a shadow that once might have been. So choose now, while you still can. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. Because every second you delay, you step closer to the abyss from which there is no return. Your fear is someone else's weapon, how society trains you to be obedient. You are not afraid by nature. You are not born timid, hesitant, careful. Once you reached for fire with your bare hands, stood unshaken before the unknown, laughed at danger as if it were nothing but a passing storm. But that version of you has been buried, carefully, methodically. Not by accident, not by nature's decree, but by design. By a world that thrives on your fear, that survives by keeping you small, that whispers to you from birth, be careful. Stay in line. Do not dare. Society does not need you strong. It does not want you brave. It has no use for men who question, who fight, who claim power for themselves. Such men are dangerous. They disrupt the order. They threaten the carefully constructed machine that feeds on submission. And so, from the moment you could think, you were taught to be afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of judgment, afraid of standing apart. Every institution, every rule, every quiet expectation was designed to ensure that you never step beyond the invisible lines drawn around you. They do not put chains on your wrists. They do not need to. The strongest chains are woven from ideas. They teach you to fear loss, so you never take risks. They teach you to fear rejection, so you never speak your truth. They teach you to fear pain, so you never fight. And when you are finally broken, when you have accepted their quiet, polite form of slavery, they reward you with comfort, a comfortable job, a comfortable routine, a comfortable death. And you thank them for it. Look around you. Who rises? Who rules? Who shapes the world? It is not the cautious. It is not the obedient. It is those who refused the fear, who shattered the illusions, who understood that society only has power over you if you let it. You feel it, don't you? That burning, buried deep beneath the years of conditioning. The truth that you have always known but were too afraid to name. That you are meant for more. That you were not born to be another cog in the machine, another nameless figure who lived, worked, and died without a trace. You are meant to build, to destroy, to carve your name into the bones of history. But you will never do it if you continue to bow before the fear that was never yours to begin with. What they fear most is the day you stop listening. The day you step forward without their permission. The day you realize that fear is the final illusion, the last barrier between you and the life that was always yours to claim. Burn it down. Let them tremble. And walk forward, unchained. Decisions must be swift, yet irreversible, the forging of a steel character. There is no greatness without decision, no power without the will to act. And the true test of your character lies not in the decisions you make, but in the manner in which you make them. The world does not reward hesitation. It does not care for the man who contemplates endlessly, who wavers, who lives in the perpetual state of maybe. It is the swift, the resolute, the unyielding who carve their names into the fabric of time. To forge a steel character, you must understand one thing above all. Decisions are the crucible in which you either become a master of your life or a servant to it. You may think that time will grant you wisdom, that the longer you wait, the clearer the path will become. But time is not your ally, it is your adversary. Every moment you linger is a moment you lose, a moment that slips away without leaving a trace. While you deliberate, others are shaping their futures with the very decisions that scare you. The future belongs not to the man who waits, but to the one who dares to act without looking back. A man of steel does not hesitate. He makes decisions quickly, without remorse, without the burden of second-guessing. He knows that hesitation is a kind of death, a slow, suffocating collapse into the mundane. And once made, his decisions are irreversible. He does not retreat. He does not dwell in the land of what-ifs. When he steps forward, he steps with certainty, with the knowledge that his fate is his own to command. The world may try to knock him down, to make him doubt, but a man of steel is never swayed by external forces. He is as unbreakable as the resolve within him. There is an art to this. It is not mere impulse or recklessness. It is the understanding that action, once taken, cannot be undone, but neither can it be taken lightly. Each choice must be imbued with the weight of its consequence, each step measured with the full awareness that you are shaping the future. But you must also embrace the fact that in every decision, there is both power and risk. To be without regret is not to be without mistakes. It is to know that every mistake is a lesson, and every lesson brings you closer to the man you are destined to become. A steel character is forged in the fire of swift, irreversible decisions. It is hardened through the constant willingness to face the unknown, to move without fear of the consequences, to accept that an action is far more destructive than any error. You do not become a master of your life by carefully plotting every move. You become a master by throwing yourself into the fire, by making decisions that reshape you, by living each moment as if it were your last, as if it could never be undone. This is the true meaning of strength. To act with certainty, to move without hesitation, to know that every step forward is a step toward something greater, and to accept that greatness is built not on a series of correct answers, but on the courage to make decisions that define you, decisions that cannot be taken back, but must be carried with you forever. Do not seek approval, only the weak ask if they can become great. Greatness does not ask for permission. It does not seek the validation of others. It is not born from the approval of society, the applause of the crowd, or the reassuring nods of those who have never dared to leave their comfort zones. Greatness is a force that does not wait for the approval of weak men. It simply manifests, uninvited, like a storm tearing through a field of complacency. But in you, yes, in you, there is something that trembles. A voice, deep inside, asking for confirmation. A question you never speak aloud, but one that constantly echoes in the back of your mind. Am I worthy? Can I become something greater? Is this possible for me? This voice, this question, it is the voice of your weakness, the doubt that will forever keep you tethered to the ordinary, the mundane. To ask for permission is to declare that you do not believe in your own power. It is to admit that you are at the mercy of others, that your value, your potential, lies in their hands. And there is no greater lie than this. Your greatness is not decided by others. It is forged by you alone, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when no one is waiting to tell you that you can. You must rise without their blessing, step forward without their approval, and carve your path without their guidance. The weak ask if they can. They search for the approval of those who have no vision, who have never dared to imagine a life beyond their own limitations. They wait for permission to be exceptional, to be powerful, to be free. But greatness does not ask for permission. It dares to exist without validation. It is not a gift given by others. It is a fire ignited within you, a spark that refuses to be extinguished by the voices of doubt. You do not need their approval. You do not need their recognition. You need only your own will, your own determination, and your own understanding that greatness is not a reward. It is a state of being. It is a refusal to settle, a relentless pursuit of something beyond what the world expects of you. When you seek approval, you surrender your power to others. When you act without asking, you claim your destiny as your own. Greatness does not wait. It does not beg. It does not plead. It rises from within, unapologetically, ruthlessly, and without the need for others to affirm its worth. If you are waiting for the world to tell you that you can be great, you will wait forever. But if you dare to step forward without hesitation, without asking for permission, then you will discover something far more powerful than the approval of others. You will discover that greatness was always inside you, waiting to be unleashed. Endurance is not victory. How the fabricated virtue makes you weak. Endurance. It is lauded by the masses, praised as the pinnacle of strength. We are taught that to endure suffering is the ultimate sign of resilience. That to bear hardship without complaint, to endure without breaking, is the mark of a virtuous soul. But what if this very virtue, this supposed strength, is the thing that holds you back? What if the act of mere endurance is nothing but the submission of your spirit, the erosion of your will, and the slow death of your potential? We have been conditioned to believe that suffering is noble, that those who endure, those who make it through the pain, are somehow greater than others. But what if the true essence of strength is not in enduring, but in transcending? To endure is to accept, passively, the conditions placed upon you. To endure is to submit to fate, to remain within the confines of your current limitations. It is a meek, silent surrender, dressed up as virtue. Endurance is not victory. It is the quiet admission that you have not yet risen above the challenge. It is not the spark of greatness. It is the slow extinguishing of your spirit in the face of adversity. To endure is to accept the conditions of your life as if they are inevitable, as if they are beyond your control. But they are not. True power comes not from enduring the world as it is, but from transforming it, from overcoming it, from mastering it, from breaking free from its chains. The man who simply endures will never know the thrill of conquering. He will never know the satisfaction of rising above what is, of claiming something greater. He will remain trapped in the same cycles, the same limitations, endlessly getting by, never daring to challenge the world, never daring to rise above the ordinary. This is the lie that has been fed to you. That patience, that endurance, is the measure of strength. It is a comforting lie, one that allows you to remain in the safety of your mediocrity, to avoid the discomfort of transformation. But those who achieve greatness do not simply endure, they confront, they challenge, they rise above. They are not concerned with suffering for suffering's sake. They are concerned with transcending it, with creating something greater than what was before. Endurance is a crutch. It is for those who cannot yet rise above the moment, who cannot yet break free from the chains that bind them. Victory lies in breaking the cycle, in casting off the false virtue of endurance and claiming something far more powerful, the strength to change, to transcend, to rise above what others say is possible. Do not settle for endurance. Do not let the false virtue of passive suffering become the definition of your life. Choose to rise. Choose to transform. Choose to conquer. Only then will you truly know what it means to be victorious. Daily mini-revolutions, breaking habits, breaking ourselves, breaking our past lives. Every day is an opportunity to overthrow the world inside you, to shatter the chains that bind you to the past, to rip apart the illusions of security that have built the prison of your habits. We think of revolutions as grand, world-changing events, but the truth is far more brutal. The real revolution starts within you. You are born into a world of routines, habits carefully constructed over years, all aimed at making you comfortable, making you predictable, making you safe. But safety is the enemy of greatness. It is the quiet poison that seeps into your soul, convincing you that your life must be lived in a certain way. And you, like a puppet, obey without question. But every time you allow the predictable, the comfortable, the known to dominate your life, you lose a little piece of yourself. You sacrifice your potential, your greatness, to a world that does not want you to rise above it. Break the habit. Break the cycle. Do not let your life be a series of dull, unremarkable days strung together in a meaningless loop. The revolutions of the soul are not planned events. They are moments of violence, of rupture, of destruction. They are the days when you choose to break away from what you were yesterday, to tear apart the fabric of your former life and walk into the unknown. The world is constantly trying to tell you who you are supposed to be. It whispers that you must be like everyone else, that you must conform to the mold. But the truth is this: the only life worth living is the one you create for yourself, and to do so, you must destroy everything that came before. Each day is a chance for a new revolution, an opportunity to burn down the foundations of your past and build something entirely new. It is in the breaking of old habits, the rejecting of old beliefs, the rejection of the safe version of yourself, that true freedom lies. You cannot become something greater without first tearing down the walls that have kept you small. This is the brutal truth of personal evolution. The old must be sacrificed to make way for the new. The comfortable must be abandoned for the uncomfortable. And in this discomfort, in this destruction, you will find the raw power of transformation. You must learn to destroy yourself daily. Not in the sense of erasing your identity, but in breaking free from the person you were, from the person you thought you had to be. Stop waiting for the grand revolution. It is the small, violent acts of defiance against the self that will ultimately lead you to greatness. The day you decide to break the pattern, to refuse the old way, is the day your life begins anew. Each action, each choice, each habit you destroy is a revolution in itself, a step closer to the life you were meant to live. Embrace this daily revolution. Tear yourself apart and rebuild with the strength of your own will. Step into the chaos of transformation, knowing that only in destruction can there be creation. Only in the breaking of who you were can you become who you were always meant to be. The game of radical responsibility. Everything that happens to you is your fault. In a world that thrives on excuses, on blaming the system, the circumstances, the people around you, there is a truth that few dare to confront. Everything that happens to you is your fault. This is the brutal, undeniable foundation of radical responsibility. The understanding that no matter how the world treats you, no matter the weight of fate, your response to it is yours alone. The moment you relinquish this truth, the moment you begin to deflect blame, is the moment you begin to die, not in body, but in spirit. What does it mean to take full responsibility for your life? It means that every triumph, every failure, every moment of pain and pleasure is a direct result of the choices you have made. It means that nothing happens by chance. Nothing is simply the result of forces beyond your control. You are the master of your fate, and in this realization, there is both freedom and terror. For once you accept radical responsibility, you accept that there is no one else to blame, no one else to point to, no one else to hold accountable. The responsibility lies within you. Every action, every thought, every decision you make shapes the life you live. This is the hardest truth you will ever encounter, because it means you cannot hide behind excuses anymore. It means you cannot blame your upbringing, your circumstances, or the people around you. It means that you are fully accountable for your own misery and for your own success. And that is the ultimate power. To be able to say that you are the author of your own story, to acknowledge that you create your own reality through your thoughts and actions, is to take back control of your life. It is to become the master of your own fate. But with this power comes a heavy price. It means acknowledging that you have been complicit in your own suffering. Every moment you have been trapped by fear, by complacency, by self-doubt, you have chosen to stay small. Every time you have accepted mediocrity, you have made that choice. Every moment you have failed to act, failed to break free from your self-imposed chains, you have given up your power to the very circumstances you now blame. In the game of radical responsibility, there is no room for weakness. There is no room for self-pity or excuses. There is only the relentless pursuit of self-mastery. The moment you begin to blame anyone or anything for what happens in your life, you abdicate your power. You become a pawn in someone else's game. But when you accept full responsibility, you step into your own sovereignty. You claim your power, your will, your destiny. This is the path to true freedom, the path to greatness. But it is also the path of radical discomfort, for to face the truth that you are the creator of your own reality is to face your own limitations, your own flaws, your own imperfections. But only in this confrontation can you grow. Only in this recognition can you transcend the person you were yesterday. No one can give you this power. No one can make you accept this truth. It is a choice you must make every single day. But if you do, if you choose to play the game of radical responsibility, then you will find that nothing in your life is outside your control. You will become the master of your fate, the architect of your destiny. And in that, you will find a strength more powerful than any external force, the strength that comes from owning your life completely. What awaits you if you do not dare? 20 years later, a meeting with a self who did not take the risk. The dark perspective. Picture this: 20 years have passed, and you stand face to face with the person you could have been. Not the man or woman who took bold steps, who lived passionately and fiercely, but the shadow of yourself, the one who never dared, never risked, never moved beyond the safety of comfort. This is not a distant future. This is not a mere possibility. This is a certainty. Should you continue on the path of inaction, should you surrender to the subtle yet insidious pull of mediocrity. Every moment you hesitate, every moment you allow fear to dictate your choices, you are not simply deferring your dreams. You are constructing a version of yourself who will one day look back and ask, "Why did I wait? Why did I not dare? Why did I not step into the unknown when it was still within my grasp?" What awaits you is a confrontation with regret, a regret so deep that it is not merely an emotion but a presence, an oppressive weight that will follow you, uninvited, for the rest of your life. You will meet the person who never dared to step outside the bounds of what was familiar, and in their eyes, you will see nothing but a mirror reflecting your own fear, your own hesitation, your own failure to rise above what you knew was possible. This is not a future to be taken lightly. This is a dark, almost suffocating reality. It is the haunting of a life unfulfilled, the crushing awareness that you had the potential for greatness, for something extraordinary, but allowed it to slip through your fingers because you were too afraid to risk the unknown. You will look into the eyes of the self you never became, and you will feel the weight of your own missed opportunities, the years wasted in the shadow of fear and complacency. What do you think will be left to show for a life lived without risk, without courage? A handful of safe choices? A collection of what-ifs that will gnaw at your soul in the quietest moments? You may accumulate wealth, possessions, or accolades, But these are not the marks of a life fully lived. They are the hollow remnants of a person who never had the courage to fight for something greater. And when you meet the self you could have been, when you face the ghost of your potential, the version of you who risked everything and carved their own path, you will see the tragic difference. You will realize that while they lived with passion, with purpose, and with fire, you shrank back in fear, letting the years slip by, letting your destiny fade into the background of an ordinary existence. This is the price of hesitation. This is the price of living small. The meeting with your future self will not be a moment of inspiration or motivation. It will be a confrontation, a reckoning with the life you allowed to pass you by. And once you come face to face with that self, it is too late to change. You cannot go back and risk what you were too afraid to risk. You must choose now. Choose whether you will step into the fire of transformation or remain safe in the shadows of your own comfort. Because the day will come when the version of yourself you could have been will stand before you, and that meeting will be the most tragic moment of your life. Do not let it happen. Do not become the person who looks back and regrets their inaction. Do not be the shadow of yourself, the echo of what could have been. Step into your greatness now, while there is still time. Why do the weak despise even themselves? The pain of realizing your own cowardice. There is a brutal silent truth that echoes through the soul of every weak individual. They despise themselves. But it is not simply the cowardice of their actions that they loathe. It is the deeper, more searing recognition. They know deep down that they are capable of more, but they refuse to rise. They see the untapped potential within them, the fire that could burn so brightly, yet they choose to hide from it, cower in the shadows, and sink deeper into the comfort of their own limitations. And in doing so, they experience a pain so profound that it transcends physical suffering. It is the agony of knowing you are not living up to your own potential. It is the sickness of realizing that you are the architect of your own prison. Weakness is not merely a lack of strength, it is the betrayal of the self. It is the act of choosing comfort over greatness, of settling into the numb embrace of mediocrity instead of embracing the savage, bloody truth of greatness. The weak do not merely fear failure. They fear the fire of greatness itself, the discomfort of rising to what they could become. But that fear is not a temporary thing. It does not disappear with time or inaction. No, it grows. It festers. And in the stillness of the night, when no one is watching, it gnaws at the soul. The weak despise themselves because they have seen, in the quiet recesses of their mind, the lives they could have lived. They know that their potential was never tapped, that their greatness was never realized. But it is not the world that holds them back. It is their own cowardice. It is their own refusal to stand up, to fight, to push beyond the threshold of fear. And this realization is poison. It is the dagger that cuts deep into the heart of who they could have been. The more they reflect, the more they see the stark contrast between who they are and who they should have been. And the pain of this dissonance is unbearable. Even the weak cannot escape the inevitable confrontation with themselves. When they look into the mirror, they do not see a victim of circumstances. They do not see a person who was failed by the world. No, they see a failure of will. A coward who chose safety over courage, who allowed fear to define their life. And the shame of this truth is like a shadow that follows them, even when no one is around. This is the darkest aspect of weakness. It is not just the world that looks down on the weak, it is themselves. They carry within them the weight of their own self-loathing, the unbearable truth that they chose to be small, to remain in the shadows of their own potential. The pain they feel is not just the ache of unfulfilled dreams, but the hollow, painful awareness that they could have been something greater, if only they had dared. To be weak is to betray your own potential. To stand before yourself and admit that you are not what you could have been is a soul-crushing reality. But here lies the paradox. The weak cannot change unless they confront this pain. Only when they recognize their cowardice, only when they are willing to face the full weight of their self-loathing, can they begin to break free. But for many, this reckoning never comes. They numb themselves to this truth, bury it beneath the facade of comfort, and live out their days in quiet misery, consumed by the knowledge that they have never truly lived. This is the price of cowardice, the price of inaction, the price of weakness, the agony of knowing in your deepest soul that you are capable of so much more, yet chose the comfort of fear over the glory of courage. It is a pain that no one can take from you, a torment that no one else can inflict. It is the price of your own choices, and it is the price that only the weak must pay. He who takes the first step has already won. How minimal actions transform reality. In the moment you take the first step, you have already entered the realm of the courageous, the realm of the powerful. The world is shaped not by grand gestures or monumental shifts, but by the smallest, most decisive actions, the ones that most people hesitate to take. These tiny movements, seemingly insignificant in their inception, reverberate through time and space, changing the course of your life, shaping the future in ways you cannot yet comprehend. The first step is not just physical, it is metaphysical. It is the moment when your will intersects with possibility, and you refuse to remain idle, trapped in the abyss of inaction. It is easy to imagine that nothing will change, that the small effort you are capable of is not enough. But here lies the bitter irony. The greatest transformations do not begin with grand plans or sweeping revolutions. They begin with a single action, an act so simple, so small, that it almost escapes notice. And yet, this is where the true power lies. The courage to move, no matter how slight the motion, is what forges a new reality. Every step you take towards your goal creates a ripple, and in that ripple lies the power to dislodge mountains. Your mind, your body, your soul, they all begin to align in ways that defy logic. The universe is not static, it is fluid, and it responds to those who dare disturb its calm surface. The first step is the disruption. It is the declaration of intent. The mere fact of moving, even if the movement is small, is an assertion of power over your own life and the forces that seek to bind you. By taking that step, you are declaring that you will no longer be passive, no longer a spectator in your own existence. And with this step, everything begins to shift. The momentum of your action will pull the future towards you like a magnet. Doors will open. Opportunities will present themselves. Forces will align, and you will find yourself at the nexus of fate and will. The energy you expend in this first movement will cascade, and before you know it, your reality will be transformed. But you must understand, this transformation is not a result of a single giant leap, but of the courage to begin the journey, however small the first step may seem. What most fail to realize is that this first step is not just the beginning of the path. It is the moment when your destiny is irrevocably altered. It is the incision that cuts through the paralysis of fear, doubt, and hesitation. And from that incision, a new life flows. The act of beginning is the act of winning, because in the moment of action, you have taken control. You are no longer waiting for circumstances to change, no longer waiting for permission. You are the one who creates. You are the one who defines the future. It is easy to remain dormant, to wait for the perfect moment, for the perfect conditions. But those who wait, who procrastinate, who hesitate, will never move. Their lives remain stagnant. The victor is the one who moves in the face of uncertainty, who dares to take that first step, no matter how small. It is in that initial moment, when you refuse to remain passive, that you claim your power. You have already won, for you have left behind the life of the spectator and entered the arena of action. Understand this: reality does not bend to those who wait for it to change. It bends to those who dare to act, no matter how minimal the action. The first step may seem trivial, but it is the seed that will grow into the tree of your destiny. Once you take it, you set in motion a chain of events that will lead to transformation, not just in your world, but in yourself. You are the architect of your own fate, and it all begins with one step. So take it, even if it's small, even if it feels insignificant. For in that step, you are already ahead of those who remain stagnant. In that moment, you have already won. You are not obliged to win. You are obliged to fight. The mistake that prevents you from starting. There is a silent poison that holds you captive, keeping you rooted in place, paralyzed by the illusion of victory. It is the relentless belief that to begin is to guarantee success, that the very act of starting requires the promise of triumph. This is the lie that corrupts your soul, the lie that prevents you from stepping into the battle. The truth is far more brutal, far more liberating. You are not required to win. You are required to fight. Victory, as it is often portrayed, is an outcome, a reward for an action. But the real value, the true power, lies not in the victory itself, but in the act of fighting. It is in the struggle, in the refusal to surrender, in the defiance of despair that you find the essence of your being. Winning is irrelevant in the face of such commitment. The battle itself is what shapes you, refines you, makes you into something unrecognizable to the self that hesitated, that feared, that doubted. The mistake that keeps you trapped in the land of inaction is the delusion that the outcome defines the worth of the fight. You stand still, waiting for the perfect moment when you are sure you will win, waiting for the guarantee that your effort will not be in vain. You fear that failure, that loss, that humiliation. But understand this: the fight itself is the victory. When you take the first step, when you raise your weapon, when you stand in the arena, no matter how the battle unfolds, you have already triumphed over the greatest enemy you will ever face, your own fear. The world does not care about the outcome of your struggle. It cares about your courage, your will to fight, your ability to throw yourself into the fray despite the overwhelming odds. Those who win are not those who avoid defeat. They are those who dare to stand up again, over and over, no matter how many times they fall. Your worth is not determined by the applause of the crowd or the accolades of success. It is determined by your tenacity, your unwillingness to let go, your hunger to confront whatever stands in your way. This mistake, this crippling fear of losing, is the shackles that keep you in your comfortable prison. It is the reason you delay, the reason you procrastinate, the reason you never begin. But the victory does not come after the final blow. It is in the first step. The act of beginning is already an act of rebellion against the passivity that plagues your soul. The moment you pick up the sword, the moment you decide to move forward in the face of uncertainty, you have already defeated the enemy of fear. And so, you are not obliged to win. You are obliged to fight. Because in the fight, you become more than you were. In the fight, you learn your limits, and then push past them. In the fight, you become stronger, not because you win, but because you face the possibility of defeat, and choose to endure anyway. It is not the result that matters. It is the refusal to surrender. The most profound transformation lies in the very act of engaging with life, of facing the inevitable suffering and struggle that come with it. The fight is the essence of your existence. And when you understand this, when you grasp the truth that your worth is measured by your courage to act, not by the outcome, then you will see the chains of hesitation shatter. So fight. Fight with all the power you can muster. And know that, even if victory does not come, you will have won in the only way that matters. You will have fought. The choice is yours. You stand at the precipice. On one side, the uncharted territory of transformation awaits you, raw, uncertain, yet brimming with possibility. On the other, lies the comfort of the familiar, the well-worn path of inertia, where you can remain just as you are, feeding on the illusions that hold you in a state of eternal passivity. You are at the crossroads of your own existence, and there is no turning back. The choice is not one of time. It is not one of convenience. It is a choice between two futures. Either you leave this moment as someone new, someone forged in the fire of courage and action, or you stay exactly where you are, in the safety of complacency, forever serving the forces that seek to control you. To remain stagnant is to become a slave to your own doubts, to your own inaction. It is to live a life of constant obedience to the whims of others, a life where you wait for permission to live, to act, to be. But the true choice, the one that defines your destiny, is to step away from the cycle of self-deception. It is to reject the comfort of the crowd, the safety of the familiar, and embrace the discomfort of change, of growth, of struggle. The moment you choose to become rather than remain, the chains of your past begin to shatter. You will not be the same person you were before. The very act of choosing to change will create a new identity, a new path, and a new reality that you will walk with strength and conviction. However, understand this. This is not a decision to be taken lightly. It is a commitment, a revolution of the self, one that demands your full attention, your full will. You cannot half-step this. You cannot simply dip your toes into the unknown and expect change. You must dive into it, body and soul, and never look back. The road will be rough. There will be pain. There will be struggle. But that is where you will find your true power. And if you choose to remain, to continue living as a passive observer of life, you will slip into the abyss of mediocrity. The world will pass you by, and you will watch as others rise, as they take what is rightfully theirs. They will conquer while you fade into the shadows of your own fear. You will become a servant to your own excuses, trapped in a prison of your own making, forever bound to the suffocating comfort of the familiar. The question is simple: what will you do with your life? Will you choose to step into your own greatness, or will you continue to serve the forces of fear and mediocrity? The power to change lies in your hands. The final act of your life, the one that defines everything that comes after it, begins right now. You can either leave here as a different person, stronger, bolder, and with purpose, or you can stay the same, a spectator in the grand play of life. The choice is yours. And know this: the moment you choose to change, you will not just change your future, you will change the very fabric of your being. So choose wisely. The world is waiting for those who dare to act. The question is, will you be one of them? As you stand at the edge of your own potential, remember, the choice is yours. Will you rise? Will you fight? Will you become the person you are always meant to be? Or will you let fear continue to control you? The path is there, waiting for you to take that first step. I challenge you today: make that choice. Change your future, change your life. Thank you for watching, and may your journey be one of strength, courage, and transformation.